All right, and so recording has begun. And so I'm going to watch what I say now. We have to mind our P's and Q's. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and turn my camera on here so you guys can see me. Hi, everyone. Hopefully everybody is happy and healthy. We are in unprecedented territory at this point. But I know a lot of you are tech powerhouses, and some of you are just starting with the technology. And so I kind of wanted to just start with the basics. For all the teachers out there, I'm going to do the classroom part of this last. And do the general uses of Teams first, because I know that we have a lot of people on this call that are not just classroom teachers and aren't going to be using the grading features, the assignments and things like that. So just wanted to go through some of that. What I'm going to do is share my screen, and I want to make sure that everybody is seeing what I see. So I'm going to jump into Teams here. And you guys should be able to see my screen. I've got a couple icons here of people on the screen. And then down the right-hand side, I have the meeting chat. If you hover your mouse over the screen, you should see this little bar pop up. And one of them is hide or show conversation. And so the hide and show conversation, please make sure that's on so you can see the meeting chat. So if you guys would just let me know in the chat box, do you see the meeting chat? Do you see my screen, and can you hear me? Give a couple people a chance to respond here. All right, yes to all. Awesome. All right, if you cannot hear me, please check your audio. Make sure your speakers are turned up. Make sure that you have your volume turned on your laptop. Awesome, lots of thumbs up, things like that. Great. All right, so I just wanted to kind of go through the overview of Teams. And so if we click on Teams here, I am using the Teams desktop app, but it looks exactly the same in the Teams, in the actual Teams on the web. And so the functionality is very, very similar. In Teams on the web, on this left rail at the bottom, if you're using the web, there's a little icon here that says download Teams. You guys can go ahead and download that, and it will allow you to have the standalone Teams application on your computer. I find that this works a little better because then you're not having to have an internet browser open, and a lot of times Chrome and things like that have a ton of extra things running in the background. So this is a little cleaner way to run it. These tiles here are your teams that you're part of. If you are not part of a team or do not have a team in your do not have a team in here, you need to ask to have one created, and that's a help ticket. So help.sarasotacountyschools.net. You just tell them what type of team you would like created. The types of teams are class teams, PLC teams, and then just general teams. Most of us are going to want class teams. You can see I have 4 astronomy teams across here.
Can you hear anything? I can't.
Yes, we can hear you, Kristen. I'm going to mute her. Hold on just a second here. I'm going to mute all. All right, so you guys can see what I just did here. I went to the call, I clicked on people, and then I clicked mute all. That's going to be important when you're presenting with students because you are going to want your students muted. And so if we go back to our list of teams here, when you select a team, we have 2 general areas of the team itself. The left-hand side, this is our channel list. This is going to list all of the channels that are in the team. General is the only channel that's included in every team. And then across the top, you have some tabs. And then this area down here is called the content area. Posts is where you're going to interact with your students. And so when we want to send something out to all our students, we're going to mention the group. So I'm going to start typing 0181 and we're going to see the entire team shows up. What this is going to do is if your students have notifications turned on Teams or on their phone, it will send them a notification, and that will also show up in the top left up here in the activity section. So the activity section here is going to show that you have been mentioned. So this is going to essentially mention everyone in my team. And this is the way I'm going to send out announcements from now on. So that way, if my students have Teams on their phone, which I've asked them to via email to go ahead and make sure they have Teams on their phone and their device that they're using, that you can @mention them and it will alert them when you've @mentioned them. So this is the post. From the post, this is where you're going to live meet with a group. When you click live meet, there's a meet now button right here at the bottom of the screen, just below the start a conversation tab. When you click meet now, it's going to show your video. You can turn it on or off. You can schedule that meeting, and then you want to give the meeting a topic. And so this topic or this subject might be, you know, chapter 21 lecture or discussion or something along that lines. What that's going to do is that's going to allow you to have these videos when you record them saved by topic. And so the Meet Now is the way that you can hold virtual office hours for a specific class. So this would only be accessible to students that are in this class. And so that's your post. This is kind of a running conversation. We see that each post can have replies. Students need to be unmuted in order to be able to reply. Now, students cannot use chat over here on the left-hand side. No chat. The district has that turned off, but they can reply inside these conversation tabs inside, or these post tabs inside your team. So if you start a conversation, they can hit reply and chat. So once we have students in our team, we can allow them to talk about different topics. You can have them doing some sort of online discussion that way. There's no way to really moderate it other than if a student posts something, you can go on and then delete that post if you would like. So just let the students know that there's, you know, obviously they need to behave themselves. Each channel also has a files tab. The general channel has a class materials tab. That's a read-only tab. Anything you put in there, students can read if you link it somewhere, but they can't access it to actually edit it, which is kind of nice. So that's where I put, you'll see when I click on that, that's where I put all my lecture outlines and any other documents I want my students to have access to, but I don't want them to actually, edit it. Anything I put in here, not only can they open, but they can also edit. So this is a great place to put shared documents where you want students to collaborate, things like that. That's in the files tab across the top. So again, we're in a team, general files. Class notebook, every class team comes with a class notebook. Students are automatically added to the class notebook. If you've used OneNote before, this is going to be really great because it's already part of the team. You can see every student is already in there. There's a teacher only section, a content library. OneNote is a beast on its own. And so things like OneNote, we're just going to leave alone for now. That's a whole nother training. If you have not used OneNote to this point, just skip this tab. Don't bother with it right now. The assignments tab is where you're going to grade and assign assignments. And so as these load, you'll see I've got a couple assignments that still need graded. They were due back before spring break. 20 out of 22 of my students filled out one or finished one. 16 out of 22 did the other. And so obviously we need to have a little conversation about that. By clicking on it, I can see each student, who's viewed it, who's turned it in. And then by clicking on the individual assignment, I can view the work that they turned in, but we can go through that later as well. This is where we'll create assignments. We'll come back to creating assignments later. And then grades allows you to view individual students. It just creates a little rubric of the assignments that have been graded. You can see I do all of my grading in Teams, so all of my students' grades are in here, and I can just transpose those straight from here into Gradebook. You can also export it to an Excel document. And so that's the general flow of the different parts of the team. I'm going to jump back into the call real quick and look at the conversations tab and make sure I didn't miss a whole lot here. Yeah, we're just helping people get. Yeah, just making the screen larger. I guess just maximize it or zoom in with your mouse. Control plus, yeah. When students turn in the assignments, other students cannot see them. No, they cannot, Karen. Once they can only see theirs, and we'll go over that when we go through assignments here in just a few minutes. The biggest thing that you're welcome. The biggest thing that we are doing with our students that's just totally new to us is trying to create some sort of virtual office hour. And so with respect to virtual office hours, there's a couple different ways in which you can, and you guys can see I just keep muting everyone. It's not that I don't want to talk to you guys. There's just a lot of people on this call, as we can see, and we just don't want a bunch of extra microphones open. We'll do a Q&A later. The Meet Now feature is great in the team, as I was showing. The only problem with this is when I click Meet Now, only students in my first period astronomy class can join that call. It's locked to all other students. And so if I want to maybe hold a virtual office hour for all of my students, in that case, I would come to Outlook. And so I'm going to open my Outlook over here, and I'm going to drag it onto the screen here in just a second once I make sure I don't have any student data up. All right. So I went to Outlook and I went to the calendar in the bottom left. And under the calendar, I have new Teams meeting. I'm going to create the Teams. And I'm going to drag this over so you guys can see it. Are all able to see that. So just throw a yup in the chat there if you're able to see this. Okay, great. I'll go over how to share your screen here in just a few minutes. So here, this link right here tells us that we have a Teams call. You can just, make this, to yourself. You don't have to send it to anyone. And so I'm just going to put myself in there. So Jason.Mockerman at Sarasota County Schools. Subject is going to be office hours. And I'm going to make it for tomorrow at, let's say, I'm going to do tomorrow at 1 p.m. And so it's going to end at 2 p.m. It's going to be an hour, and I'm going to hit send. So that's going to send it to myself, and we can see it popped up down here for tomorrow at 1 p.m. If I double click that and I copy this link, all right, so copy hyperlink, then I can just come back to Teams. All right. I'm going to hit on my team. I'm going to go to the team I want to paste it in, and I'm just going to paste it. All right, I Control V, just right mouse click paste, and it says join Teams meeting. I'll hit send here, and then I'll go to my next team, and I'll come down to the general tab, and I'll paste it there, and I'll just tell my students in a, I would type, hey, this is for tomorrow at 1 p.m. or at 1 p.m. I would just go and paste it into each one. Then any student that clicks that link can join the meeting just like you guys did today. And so it's nice to be able to schedule a meeting with everybody all at once. That allows us to share those office hours with anybody. And that's what you guys are right now. We can see how many people are on this call right now. All of these people are on here, and as long as everyone is still muted, we're able to have a presentation. Now, somebody asked how I share my screen. It's this little guy down here. If I hover my mouse over the main part of the call, you should have a little square with an up arrow. If you don't, that's because you're attendees in this meeting. So I have it set where attendees can't present. But This little guy right here would be the little square, and it would have an up arrow right here, and it says share screen. When I click that, it would ask what part of the screen I want to share. You can share an individual entire screen like I am right now. Anything I drag onto this screen, you guys can see. I can also share just a window, and then you can also share just an individual program. Gabe, yes, you can edit the text, but you have to do that through like go into Outlook and right mouse click on it and click edit hyperlink, and you can edit the text and edit the link. So yes, you're welcome. So the share link, that's the way you would meet with your students. The nice thing about that is when I click here, you can see I'm recording currently. You can record when you do a link like that. Once you're done recording, and anytime you do that inside a channel, as long as it's not a private channel, and we'll talk about the differences between channels here in a minute. When you record, anytime you're done recording, it automatically puts that into Stream. So when I go to Stream, and the way I did that is I go to office.com. Here's all your quick links. If you don't see Stream in your quick link, you can click all apps, and then it's alphabetical. It's right here. When we go to Stream, you can go to My Content, click on Videos, and you can organize all kinds of stuff, meetings, channels, groups, you can do all kinds of stuff. But I'm going to just click on Videos. And when I click on Videos, you're going to see here's some other videos that I've done just in the last couple of days, just testing things out. When this is done, this video will be dumped into Stream, and then I can share this video with an individual team, or I can edit the video, or I can download the video. So you can just get a link, click share, copy the link. Once you're done copying the link, you can come back to your team. And I'll take this link out of here. And now I'm just gonna right mouse click and paste, and there's the stream video, and that way my students can watch it. So after you're done holding your office hours, the same way I'm going to do as soon as we're done with this training, I'm going to copy the video link, and then I'm just going to post it in our group. And we have that, if you guys have not already gone to it, the RHS All Instructional Staff, I'm going to post that video right here. So that way you can just throw that in there. Oh, I guess some people were looking for that video or that link. Yeah, when you hit accept on that, it goes to your calendar. So here it is, live Teams meeting on your calendar. You double click on that and you can click join meeting once it opens right here, join Teams meeting. All right, so let's go back to Teams real quick. And I'm going to bring back up, make sure I didn't miss anything in the chat. I can't do both at the same time. So Stream rocks. Ooh, I do. I like Stream a lot. Yes, and it will create a transcript. Thank you for putting that in there. It will, you tell it what language you're using as your primary language, and it will put closed captions in there so that when the student hits play, it has a transcript and it'll do closed captions. So it's pretty sweet as an accessibility tool. All right, so let's look at the left rail over here. We got a couple other things. We've got chat. And so you don't have Teams as an option on your calendar. I have Zoom and Skype. Ooh, that's not good. Are you using, Carla, are you using the Outlook calendar on your computer? Like your desktop at, yeah. Maybe you and I just need to chat later and take a look at it because it should show Teams. Let me show you a different way to get to it though. If we go here and we go to calendar in Office 365. So when you go to office.com, right, we can go to Outlook. So I'm just going to click on Outlook. And then down on the very bottom here, you can see calendar on the bottom left. I'm going to click calendar. And then I'm going to click new event. And under new event, add online meeting, there's Teams right there. And when you add that and add your attendees and title and hit send, it will send them a link just like the one I showed you. So hopefully that, yeah, hopefully that'll work. All right, so that's how you'll create your own team meeting. So if you want to meet with other teachers, you want to collaborate. So as staff, there's another way that you can meet with teachers, and that's going to be on the left-hand side. Students don't have this button over here on the left, it's chat. So when I click chat, there's all kinds of, you can see I have all kinds of chat. This ambiguous little button up right here is the new chat button. So you can see Chuck and I connected earlier today. I said, hey, you on? He said, yep, here. I told him to give me a second. And then on the right-hand side, I clicked video call and that called him. And then he and I were able to do a Teams call together. And we were able to work on a document together earlier today. And so this is just a quick way to jump on. And so, you know, if I've got Teams open and you guys come on and you do new chat and you type me, you can just say, hey, Jason, are you on? And I can do a quick video call with you. And that allows you to show me your screen. Yeah, I'm not gonna, no, Mike, you cannot have control. Sorry, bud. And so that way that way you can connect, you can see a bunch of staff are in here. But a quick little hack to meet with a student, if you click here and start typing so I'm going to put my daughter in. When I click here, she cannot message me, right? But she can't message me. But when I click here, it says chat is disabled. I can still video call that student. And so that's great if you need to meet one-on-one with a student real quick. You can type their name. Again, you click new chat, you put their in number in, click down here like you're going to chat with them, but chat is disabled, but video is not. So if I hit that, it would video call my daughter and allow me to make a quick video call to her. So that would be a real easy way if you need to connect with a student real quick. My students, Kathy cannot see the conversation box next to the 3 dots. No, I don't know. It should just show up just like this. Maybe she needs to drop out of the meeting and jump back in. And so that's a great way to connect with students. I know some of the foreign language teachers need to be able to do like orals. I've been reviewing IAs with students, like their rough drafts. It's a great way to just jump on a quick video call. You can share your screen and go from there. So that's the chat feature out there. Yeah, it might be the difference between I am not using the online Teams, everyone. I'm using the standalone Teams, application. All right, activity is going to show you all your activity threads for all your teams. If you're in a ton of teams like I am, it gets a little hectic, but it's great to see when you've been mentioned in something. This Teams shows you all of the list of teams, and then down here you have the calendar. The calendar is not the calendar for an individual team. Instead, it's a calendar for and I'm just going to click mute all one more time. And if you guys are meeting with a bunch of students, you're going to have to do that over and over because students will join and it will automatically join them with their mic on. So you'll have to click that. And you just tell your students, hey guys, we're using the chat feature out to the left if you have questions. Andrew, that's a good question. I know that if you schedule it through Outlook, it can be recorded. If you do the Meet Now feature in a channel, it can be recorded as long as it's not a private channel. I do not think a live Teams call chat like that will allow you to record. We're going to put my daughter's in number back in and see if it'll let me test it while I'm recording here. It might not. So I'm going to click down here. I'm going to click. All right, I'm back, right? Am I here? You guys got me, right? Yeah, you couldn't hear me anymore. New message. Yes. All right. It didn't connect because I was already connecting with you guys, so it put you guys on hold. I'll test that and get back with you guys. But that's a really good question. That's a really good question. I don't think it does let you record a one-on-one chat like that. And then the calendar, if we click on calendar, what this does is it marries your calendar with respect to calls and your calendar on the Teams. And so you can see my live Teams training is here. I had an IA talk with a student scheduled earlier. That was yesterday. So you guys can see that there's different things on the calendar. This is not oh, you guys can't see my screen. Sorry, my fault. Right. Share. Screen 2. There, can we see it now? There we go. All right. So if we click calendar out to the left, you can see that this is a married calendar between my school calendar. So I was supposed to have a planetarium show today. I feel really bad for these kids with all the canceled planetarium shows. And then you can see I have some IA reviews scheduled with students, and that I had one this morning. These were scheduled through Outlook, so I was able to record them. And then that way the students can watch them again and get my feedback. All right. And so that's the anatomy of Teams. Does anybody have any questions about the anatomy of Teams? Can you show us again how to show your screen to the students? Yeah, right down here. If you hover your mouse over the screen that I'm presenting, this bar will show up where you can turn your camera on and off. You can turn your mic on and off. You can also, where it says stop sharing for me, it will show sharing for you. You guys are currently attendees in this meeting, so it's probably not going to allow you to share your screen. But in a regular one, yes, you're welcome, Juan. In the regular one, it will allow you to share your screen. These 3 dots right here give you more actions. Check this one out. This one's pretty cool. If you can see me now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you guys can see me. I blurred my background, so you should be able to see me as the presenter. Yeah, that is really cool. So if you have documents behind you or people behind you or random things behind you, again, that's in the 3 dots right here. You can blur your background. You can also turn on live captions. But that's for you only. So you can tell your students they can turn on live captions. So for students that have hearing disabilities or something like that, it would transcribe my speech into live captions for students. And then you can change your device settings, turn off incoming video, things like that. And so that's that more options. All right, so any questions about the anatomy? All right, anatomy. All right, let's get into some of the class stuff here. Let's look at an actual class and how I use this with my class. Now, please know I've been using Teams since the beginning of the year. So I have a ton of stuff in here. We'll just go to my first period astronomy. Notice the message I started typing earlier is still there. So I'm going to get rid of that so I don't accidentally send it to my students. Down the left-hand side, I have channels. Now think of channels as like content spaces. I have it broken down in both chapters and major content sections. So like stellar formation, stellar evolution. Each channel has 3 tabs by default: a posts, a file, and notes. Those notes are part of the collaboration space of the OneNote class notebook. So if you're used to using OneNote class notebook, it adds a new section in the collaboration space for those notes. If you're not using OneNote, just don't even worry about that. Pretend like that's not even there. Files are files that pertain to just this channel. You can see my channels don't have any files in them because I put all my files in the general channel. And then posts are conversations about this topic. So that's a great way to chunk content. So if you want to do like, some sort of collective conversation about a specific piece or a specific idea, you could create a channel, post that information in there, and then have the students do a conversation. We'll get to how to mute students here in a minute, because controlling what students can post and what they can't is obviously really important. These other 2 tabs out here I put in there. One is a PowerPoint lecture. And so for me, because I can edit it, it shows up as an edited PowerPoint. When the students click on this, it just shows them this pane. It just shows them the content pane because they don't have edit right to it. That's because I put those files in the general channel under files in the class materials, which means they're read only. In order to add a tab, we just click this little plus here, stick to these up here. Don't worry about all this stuff down here. Most of that you have to pay or have a subscription to use. But this stuff up here, you can add a flip grid. Flip grid's pretty cool. I made a video about that. That's a great way to grab student videos and responses. Like I sent one out to my students that said, how have the last couple weeks been a challenge for you and how has it changed the way that you're living your everyday life? And it just gave them an opportunity to record a quick video and share it with the class. And yes, you can moderate those before somebody asks. You can stick a PDF in there, a Word document, a PowerPoint, a YouTube link, but those tabs go across the top. So one of those is, for example, a website tab. I put the astronomy picture of the day in there. This is how I start my class almost every day during a normal school day. I have this on the board and the students read the caption. This is from NASA. And then we can talk about this. This is a cool picture of Saturn by the Cassini probe. And so that just allows you guys to add content to a tab or to a channel. You can add tabs across. If I'm going to add a PowerPoint, the PowerPoint has to be in my files already. You can see this channel has no files. So I'm going to hit the up arrow, go to the general channel, go to my class materials, and then I can add that and click save. I'm not going to. I can give it a new name, chapter 19 lecture. And when I hit save, it shows up as the chapter 19 lecture as one of the tabs across the top. So tabs are a great way to organize content. So channels go down the left, tabs go across the top. To add a new channel, I go to the name of the course. I click the 3 dots, the more options, and I get add channel. So when I click add channel, I'm going to put my name of my channel in here. So new test channel. And then I can give it a description. And then I can set it to standard, which means everyone sees it, or private, which means only specific students see it. So it's going to add that channel, and then it's going to ask what students do I want to put in there. I can make it just teachers or just students. And so you can put a distribution list in there. You can put just a specific group of students in there. If I start typing a kid or a name, I can put a specific person in there and add them. That person has to have, we can see it showed up out here, new test channel, but none of my students can see it because it's private. The student has to be part of the team in order for them to access it. So now I've added this channel and I don't really want it. So I'm going to go to delete this channel. And then I'm going to hit delete. So that's how we quickly add channels and delete those channels. We can see that channel went away. Now let's look at managing the team. But before I do, I want to jump back on the chat and see if anybody has any questions about adding channels. How do we add content? Okay, we got that. That would be great. Yes. Yeah, creating a private channel would be great for differentiation. So you can put different students into different channels and then give them different assignments or different things like that. All right, so we're still good. Nothing in the chat. All right, so let's go back to my team here and let's manage the team. This is the nuts and bolts of the team, like how we go ahead and add students. You can see out here, add a member. And you can see right now I have all my students muted. So if I uncheck that, right now all students are muted. If I uncheck that, now my students can post in the channels. If I mute this, now they cannot post in the channels. So when we go to the general channel, if they're muted and they try to type here, this box is grayed out. It will not allow them to respond. But I need my students to be able to respond. I didn't when we were in a normal classroom setting, but now that we're not in a normal classroom setting, I need to unmute those students. And so I'm just going to click this and click it so that they all disappear. So now all my students are unmuted. They can go ahead and start putting things in the team. I haven't met with these students yet, so I'm not going to unmute them yet until I give them ground rules. If I want to add a student, you can search for a student by IN number. So I'm going to put my daughter in there. She's the only IN number I have memorized. I click that and click add. It's going to add her as a student. Or I could go and put an A number in there and add Amy Connor as a teacher. Students and teachers have different permissions. A teacher is automatically an owner. A student is automatically a guest, which means they follow different rules. Here's your list of channels. This is how you manage the different channels. You can say show for me, show for members. So you can see that I've met the maximum number of channels that can be shown. I don't need my students to see channel 1 anymore because that's or chapter 1 channel. So now I can say, hey, automatically show this. All right, this will make the channel visible in everyone's list, confirm. So now when my students come in, they're going to see general and then chapter 2 through chapter or semester 2, chapter 20, 21, 22. Okay. Out to the right, this is where we get some of the manage channel features. If I click manage channel, right now it's set to anyone can post messages. If I click here, anyone can post, show alerts that posting will notify everyone, or only owners can post. So if I do that for that channel, the students, even when they're unmuted, can't chat. So you need to leave it anyone can post because then your students can't put anything in there, so they can't interact with you. All right, so we'll go back to here rather and go to manage team. Next, we have settings, themes, member permissions. This is how we control what students can do. So allow students to delete or restore channels. No, you don't want them doing that. Allow members to create channels. Nope, you don't want them doing that either. You don't want them adding custom apps, anything like that. The only thing you want checked in this is that owners can delete all messages. You want to be able to do that so you can moderate your chats and give members the option to delete their messages. If you don't want students to do that, you can uncheck it. And once the student puts something, it doesn't go away. So they can't type something, snarky and then come back and delete it. So that might be a good one to leave unchecked. Team code. This is the code that will allow students to join the team quickly. So you can copy this code and then tell your students to go to all teams, join with a code, and then paste that code here, and it will join them to the team. So you would have to send directions out via email in order for them to do that. Go back to my managed team here and go to settings. And then all the rest of this, unless you're using OneNote, you'd stay away from that. And then I don't use any of this just because at this point, we're just trying to use it the best we can. So really it's just members, channels, and settings. Analytics, it tells you who's using it, and apps, it's what apps you have connected to your team. Again, you're probably not going to use that. So we can see that I have 23 members. You can see the week before spring break, right? Like the usage has changed, and I guarantee this will go up through the roof between now and next week. All right, so let me jump back into the chat here and see if anybody has any questions. Yeah, that's a great idea, Casey, to make tags to separate your class periods. No, Jeremy, there, as far as I know right now, we don't have direct Turnitin access from Teams into from Teams like you do on Blackboard. Remember that Teams is not a full-blown LMS. It's like LMS Lite, so it doesn't quite do everything that Blackboard does. It's just a lot easier. I feel like it's a lot more user-friendly than Blackboard. Creating content in Teams quickly is really easy because you can connect things very quickly. For example, if I go to Files and I want to add a file, I click Upload. I can upload from my computer. I can also create a new file, and then I can also add storage like OneDrive to it. And so it's just the fact that it's already linked to your Office 365 makes it really easy. Other questions? Can you go back to the team code again? Yes, I can. If I go to the team that I want my students to join, the 3 dots next to the name, manage team, and then we're under settings, team code. So my students have all joined because I did this at the beginning of the year. So I just hit full screen and my students could all see it up on the active board and they all type that in together. We don't have that benefit anymore. So you got to copy and paste that for them, and you can just copy it right here and then paste it into an email. Now that my students have all joined though, I can click remove. And once I've removed it, now nobody can join that team with that code anymore. So that's going to keep people from joining my teams. I don't know why anyone would, but just to lock it down a little bit. All right. Yeah, so Tammy, bulk enroll, there is no bulk enroll for teams. You gotta add members one at a time, or you gotta do a join code and email everybody. Yeah, Casey, I don't use tags to separate students like that, so I'm not 100% sure what the easiest way to filter students by tags are. That's gonna be a Google search. Yeah, sorry. I don't know everything. I know enough to be dangerous, everyone. Yes, you can search them by IN number or by name. It'll search them by either, Mike. No, each channel does not have its own code, John. The code is for the entire team. Each channel has its own link, though. You can get a link to the channel and paste it places so that when kids click on it, they go directly into the channel, but they have to be part of the team first. And then the IN number tool. Yeah, thank you. I'm glad that you got some use out of it. Unfortunately, you cannot use the IN number tool to bulk enroll. And to answer Mike's question, if I'm going to add a new student, I'm going to go to the team. Here's the team name. I'm going to click on it, and I can just add member directly from here. And then search from students. I just start typing IN numbers in. So like my daughter, I know off the top of my head. But if I leave out one of the numbers, there's everybody with those first 5 of the 6 digits of IN numbers, and you select the student. So that's how you would add a student to your team. Park, it depends on how you're going to use it. His question is I have several algebra classes. Would you recommend creating a separate team for each period? If you were going to give everything exactly the same to every single class, then it doesn't really matter if you put them all in one team or not. My classes are just different enough that, one, I like to give them all separate classes because then it allows me to individualize things just a little bit. And two, when I grade, I like the students to all be separate by class. The grading feature, you know, with 120 astronomy students in one team, that's kind of overwhelming. So, but you can do it either way you want. You just have to tell them in the help ticket how you're going to do it. Elena, yes, you could create a team and throw all of your ESOL students in there. And then you could set office hours with them, and they could come in and click on it. And as I was showing at the beginning of this, another way you could do it would be to do a team meeting. So click on your calendar in Outlook. So I just went to Outlook, clicked on the calendar at the bottom. Under home is new Teams meeting, and I can click that and then email the student and then hit send, and then that would send the student a notification that you want to meet with them. And so that way you could do that. And yes, you can meet with over 100 people at a time. I think the maximum number you can meet with a single team is 250. So I think you would be okay. Although you may not want to set it up as a class team, you may just want to set it up as a general team. They have a higher limit than class teams. Yeah, it would make it easier for office hours if you had them in a team. That's what I'm going to do with my students is each class, I'm just going to do a specific time of day for office hours. And again, I'm going to go to the team. I'm going to click on the general channel. And then I'm just going to come down here and click the meet now when I'm ready to meet. And I'm just going to tell my students, hey, period 1, I'm going to meet from this time to this time. Period 2, I'm going to meet from this time to this time. However, the beauty of it is that you can record it. And then when you're done recording, you hit stop recording, and it puts that recording in your stream. And so that way students that don't have it are not able to meet will be able to go in and look at the video, the recording. And that's one of the things I think the county's kind of emphasized is we can't require students to meet at any specific time as a group, because they might be sharing one device for their entire family. Or they might be using the device when dad gets home from work, and so they can only use it when they come home. And so and yes, I'm glad to help you. I really am. I will do my best to support everyone the best we can with these Teams meetings. I know this is new for everyone, and I'll do my best. But if I don't answer, it's not because I don't love you. You just have to eat every once in a while. All right. So questions on general maintenance of the channel and things like that before we jump into grading. Is it possible for them to send you a message and video call? They can send you a message either via email or they cannot chat. But a kid actually can. You have to show them how. They can kind of hack the system and send a video call. But I wouldn't suggest showing them how to do that. Instead, I would just tell them, hey, if you want to meet with me, they can mention you in the team. So if I go to my team, and I'm going to go to I have a sandbox I asked the district to make for me just because I needed to be able to play around. I put my brother and a couple other random people in there, and you can see all the just random stuff. But one of the things you could do is if you wanted them to mention you, they could do @ and like I'll start typing my brother's name, right? Start typing Mockerman. And then when I do this, hey, can you chat? And I have Teams on my phone. He has Teams on his phone. It just alerted him on his phone, hey, you have a new activity. And if he's has his phone on him, he'll come back and chat, hey, yeah, And so that might be an option for you with your ESOL kids. They can just mention you and say, hey, I need some help. And that way you can do that. Kelly, I'd be glad to help you one-on-one set up your recorded video and practice it, as long as you don't critique my grammar. Yes, Mike, I'm going to go into assignments here in just a second. So before we move on into assignments or anything like that, is everybody good on video? Everybody good on channels and tabs? Okay. All right, let's go ahead and look at assignments. I'm going to go to a team that I use, and let's go ahead and look at assignments here. In the general channel is where assignments live. It's kind of cool if all the teachers use Teams. Students could just click on this assignment tab on the left, and it would list all of their classes assignments in order of due date, and it's color coded. It's pretty legit. It doesn't look like that for me because I have so many classes and it doesn't show them all. But I can select what classes I want, and it'll do that for me. So as a student, I could see where that would be really great. When you click on assignments, you can see you have a couple of different areas here. You have drafts. These are assignments that I've started building, and you can see some of them are called untitled assignment. I never finished them. Then I have assigned. There's only 2 assignments assigned from before spring break, and then graded. And when I click on graded, you can see there are lots of assignments. This is a whole year worth of assignments that I've loaded. So you can see that there's lots of assignments in here. In order to create an assignment, I'm just going to click on the create here, and then I get a couple different options. I can create an assignment. I can create a quiz. That's a Microsoft Forms quiz. So that's nice for a quick summative assessment. But hey, listen, in all transparency, I'm not giving any type of assessments through this in any way, shape, or form. If I did decide I was going to use assessments remotely, I'd use Blackboard, only because I can control more aspects of it. But in all honesty, I don't think I'm going to try to do any type of summative assessment remotely like this. My students didn't sign up for that. My class isn't geared for that right now. And we're in the 4th quarter. So at this point, I just want to make sure my students have some information and have some assignments. So I'm going to click on assignment. When that pops up, you get a couple different areas here. Assignment title is whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to call it new test assignment. The instructions, this is where you enter your instructions of your assignment. If you want them to do something specific, you can put hyperlinks in there, go to this website, do this, something along that lines. But a lot of times my instructions are just complete the following worksheet. And under add resources, I'm able to put worksheets in here. So it links automatically to my OneDrive. I'm going to go down to my school stuff. I'm going to go to astronomy. I'm going to scroll down to a document, and I'm going to have them do the chapter 4 vocab. When I click this and hit attach, we're going to see that because it's a Word document, it says students edit their own copy. So what's cool about this is when I submit this, it's going to send that chapter 4 vocab document to every student. Every student's going to get one. They can edit it right there on their computer. And then when they hit, you see this, they see submit. When they click submit, it returns that and you can see their document. So no paper has to change hands, which is really nice. The students can also add work. There'll be a little plus right here for them to add work. When they click that, it will give them the opportunity to use their camera. So a lot of my students use their camera. They'll do their work old school on a piece of paper, and then they take their cell phone camera and take a picture and upload it. But even if all they have is an iPad or a Chromebook, they can still edit this Word document, because when they click it, it will open that Word document in Word Online and they can edit it. So don't worry about what format it's in. As long as it's in a Microsoft document format, you're totally good. I'm going to give it some points. You can add a rubric if you want. I have a couple rubrics I've made before, but you can make your own. Watch what happens when I create a rubric. You can change all of the data points. You can say what percentage each one's worth. And then when you grade it, you can grade it by using the rubric, which is pretty cool. And then here's where the best part is. So Park asked earlier, hey, should I do one algebra class with all of my students or separate? If you do separate, like I do my astronomy, I can now go in and assign this to more than one class all at one time. So here I'm assigning this to 5 different classes by clicking the assign to all students in 5 classes. Now, if I decided not to assign it to 5 classes, just leave it this one, I could then go and select the individual students. So this again is great for differentiation. You can send it out to just specific students, just one entire class, or by selecting multiple classes. And so that would go out to 5 different classes. Then you can set your due date. By default, the due date is always tomorrow at midnight, but by clicking this edit button, you can schedule it to assign in the future. So let's say you want to create a document right now and you want to assign it to post Wednesday at 8 a.m. So I would just post in the future, Wednesday, select my time here, go to 8 a.m. Wednesday. It's going to be due on Friday at midnight. And then the close date makes it disappear. It takes away the submit button so they can't turn it in late. Another thing the district has said is that we need to be incredibly flexible with timeframes for students. So even though all of my assignments are going to have due dates, they're not going to have close dates, which means a student can turn it in late. And so I'm going to hit cancel, and I'm going to actually discard this because I don't want to assign this to my students right now. They'll lose their minds. So I'm going to hit cancel. But let's go ahead and look at what one looks like after some of them have been turned in. This is an ungraded assignment. You can see these were turned in on time. This one was turned in 3 hours late. Some of them just say viewed. Doesn't mean they didn't do it. They just didn't physically push the turn in button. So I'm going to click turned in, and we're going to see that here's Ryan's assignment. This is a OneNote page. It's going to open it in OneNote, and I can see the highlighted sections is the answers he put in there. I can just hit next. I can give him feedback, give him points, and hit return. He'll get my feedback and see the points awarded. So this is a great way to give feedback on an assignment. Because this is a OneNote page, and same with a Word document, I could actually go in here and write, hey, good job. And with your touch screen, you can annotate on this as well. But I usually leave my feedback right here, put my points in and hit return, click the next one. It's a little laggy because I'm on a call right now with 100 of you, but and here I can see he did it a little differently. He put his in these little boxes. I click next. We can see this one was turned in late. He did cool color-coded boxes. So this is how I would grade it as I give them points. So I give him points. I can either return it right now or hit close, and you'll see that the number of points I gave him here, and then I can hit return, and it would return that document. I'm not going to return it yet. I like to return them all at one time. When I return it, they get a little notification up in their activity that an assignment's been returned. It shows them your feedback, and it shows them the grade you gave them. Under graded, if I go to, let me see if I can chapter 2 review. This was a Word document. You can see I've graded them all. I can go back and look at graded. They've all been returned. They almost all got 100 on it. When I click here, this is a Word document. I can just go next. Here's another Word document, next. And I can just look at each Word document. And because I have edit rights, I can actually click edit document. And then if I had a device I could annotate, I can annotate on that. And so again, we're going to go back just to show how to create one real quick and add resources. I'm going to click, sorry, I did that really fast. Somebody critiqued me on my videos that they're too fast. I'm in the general channel, assignments, create. I'm going to create an assignment. I'm going to give it a title. If you set up categories, you can add categories, quiz, test, whatever your different categories are. And then add resource. You can add it from OneDrive. You can add it from your OneNote class notebook if you're using that. You can add a URL for them to visit. You can create a new file. So if I create new document and we'll call this test new document, and I hit attach, every student will get a file called a Word document called test new document, and they can answer. So you could ask them in the instructions a question and then create a Word document that's their free response and send it to them, and they can just type it in that Word document. They'll click submit, and when they click submit, then you get the answer. You get the documents back. Again, we award report points there. Put a rubric in there if you would like. Assign it to however many students you would like, and then the edit here allows you to change the release date, the due date, and the close date. So let's look real quick. I'm going to discard this again. Let's look real quick at an assignment for the students. If I click student view, it says that complete the assignment on the attached OneNote page. I have the OneNote page attached here. Right here would be a submit button, and right under here for the student is an add work button. And when they click that, they can add a picture. So let me see if I can find one that actually has a picture on it. Let me see if any of these have pictures on them. So you can see what it looks like. Here's one with a picture on it. So we can see the student just took a picture of their work. So I can read it and click on the other picture. There's their second page, chapter 3 review. So that allows me to review their work. I can still put feedback and I can still put points. So it doesn't matter whether they do it on the actual original document, which he did not. Instead, he did it on pen and paper. All right. Back to my training live thing here. I'm sure some of you guys have questions. How many assignments can they turn in per? How many? Oh, Jeremy, you said how many can they turn in per assignment? You mean how many extra pages can they add per assignment? Yeah, I have never found I have had students turn in like 8 or 9 pictures at a time. I've never had them try more than that or tell me they can't put more in there. Let's see. Show the way kids. All right, we did that. How many assignments can they turn in? And I use existing documents. Yes, John, you can. You just hit add document. You can upload it. Thank you, Mike. I'm glad that answered your question. Sweet. Yeah, you're welcome for the tutorial, Z-Man. Glad to do it. All right, so we've been on here for just over an hour. I want to be a good steward of your time, and so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording, but I'm going to stay on. And if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat, and I will be glad to answer any I can. I'll also be on Teams on and off the rest of the business day for the next couple hours at least, if anybody wants to hit me up, and I would be glad to answer those. So I'm going to go ahead and hit stop recording, and then I'm going to paste the recording link in the